Maybe that did it. Maybe we're live now. Can anybody hear me or see me? Acknowledge in the chat if you can, and we'll get moving. There we got a hello. But it's weird, when I look at my analytics on my screen, it shows nobody. All right, I think we hear you. Good. Thanks, guys. Sorry for the technical difficulty. So I've been off the YouTube horse for just a little while. As you guys might have noticed, my apologies for that. I got a little bit sick, a little bit of a crazy cold right before Christmas, and it just took a while to get through that. And then we had lots of holiday stuff going on, and so I've just been a little bit away from YouTube. We're trying to get back on schedule. As you see, today is a Tuesday. It is 1 p.m. Eastern, and here we are with a brand new video. I'm going to give just a couple minutes for some people to join in, and then we're going to get right to the meat of the topic. Hopefully it's a good one. And hopefully I got a 5x5 message on the audio. I'm really hoping we got the audio problem from last live stream fixed. I honestly don't know what happened. We had a lot of static. I was using my normal microphone that I've got right up here above the camera, and I have no idea why we had all that static. It was my live stream on Robot Police. We basically took it down because it was really bad with audio. The content was good, but maybe we'll come back to that. So anyway, I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody still hanging around the channel and still subscribing. If you haven't told your friends, please subscribe. We certainly appreciate it, everybody participating on the channel, and glad to see you back here. All right, so people say 5x5, we're gonna roll on. And honey will, I can't even type today, look at this. Honey will help with your throat. I agree with that. Let's see if there we go, my chat pinned comments are working too. You know what really helps when you have a cold? A good old-fashioned hot toddy. Get some honey, some lemon, some hot water, a little bit of whiskey or dark rum. We got some spiced rum that was actually pretty darn good. Does well. All right. From the great state of Wisconsin, it is -2 degrees. You guys, there's a reason I don't live in Wisconsin. I frankly, thinking back, I don't think I've ever been to Wisconsin, so welcome, Phil. Right now in Virginia, it is drizzly, rainy, and it is, I don't know, maybe 40, 45 degrees out. It's kind of nasty, but oddly enough, we haven't had any real winter weather where we are in Virginia. It's kind of crazy. We're kind of on the eastern side where Fredericksburg is, and we have not really had any winter weather. I haven't had to get the snow shovel out a single time, which I'm okay with. All right. Let's actually start off with a question. This is a good question. Are you allowed to shoot a cop that breaks into your house with no warrant? Generally speaking, probably no. This is actually a difficult question that's going to depend upon your local state law. Some states have sort of what's known as the castle doctrine, where if somebody comes into your home, you do have the right to use lethal force against them. Some states don't. Even though if it's a police officer, if he literally has no warrant and he comes into your home, he likely has no reason to be there, except, however, consider exceptions to the warrant requirement. There are many exceptions that allow the police to come in even if they don't have a warrant. One great exception is just the simple idea of, I can't think of the word for it. Basically an emergency. There's a fancy legal term that is just escaping me right now. If they have sort of an emergency, if they get called, you know, that there's maybe some kind of fight at the residence, and they respond to the residence, and they show up and they hear cries of help me, and somebody's, you know, threatening to kill somebody inside. Well, they can go in because that's an exception to the warrant requirement to go in for, you know, a clear and present issue they have to help with. So that's that. We have somebody reporting in from Stafford. Welcome, Chris in Virginia. Stafford's a pretty nice place. I prefer Spotsylvania. Let's see. A burglar is a burglar. He or she will be shot on sight. Probably not a necessarily good legal position to take, but I understand your philosophy about defending your home. So we have tell you what, the comments go really quick, and it's hard to click one and actually pin it up on the screen. Hot pursuit, John Duke says. In a way, so hot pursuit is another exception. A good point. Let's say the police are chasing a suspect. They have somebody who just robbed a bank. The suspect, is on the loose, running from the police. They know who it is. They're watching him perhaps, and they see him run into your front door. Can the police come into your front door after him to nab him? Yes, they can. Hot pursuit. Exigent circumstances. Thank you for the term. That escaped me for the moment. Even lawyers, right? We have brain farts. It happens. Wrong address is an issue we've talked about before with warrants. I think we have a video on that where we talked about if the police respond to the wrong address, where we had the case that happened in Valuisa County. I've been told it's Volusia County in Florida, but I pronounce it Valuisa because it makes more sense to me from the South here. Even though Florida's the South, I don't think they really claim us. I don't know. Anyway, the wrong address is a potential defense if it's for the police. Let's say the police get a search warrant and they put the address wrong and they show up at basically the house that's listed on the warrant, but it's the wrong place. Or vice versa. Let's say the police know where they need to go, and let's say they put the wrong address. So they're supposed to go to Suite A, and they actually put Suite B on the warrant. So the warrant's for Suite B, but they come into Suite A. It could be a good search or a good entry if it was a reasonable mistake. The police get all sorts of reasonable mistakes, even though you and I don't. We have a super chat, I believe that's what we call it in Facebook, YouTube land, from Jeepman LS1. Thank you so much. He says, Andrew, can you please recommend a civil rights lawyer that handles federal police civil rights violations that is based in Virginia? Absolutely, I can. Actually, a good friend of mine named Andrew Bodo, that's B-O-D-O-H. He works down in Richmond. Him and his firm do civil rights. He works with Thomas Roberts and Associates in Richmond. I can definitely recommend them live on the air. They're good people, and that's the kind of stuff they do. So again, his name is Andrew Bodo, B-O-D-O-H, and he's with Thomas Roberts and Associates in Richmond. Thanks so much for the super chat. All right. I guess we're just going to take some questions, and we're going to see where we go. What do you do when you're pulled out of your car by an insane screaming police officer and they're held by several officers and beaten to death? Guys, I actually was gonna do this live stream about the horrible situation in Tennessee. I was gonna do it. I decided I shouldn't do it because, frankly, I don't have anything nice to say about the police activity that took place there. I don't know a single police officer who would defend what those guys did. And if I did, then they certainly shouldn't be a police officer any longer, in my opinion. So I haven't even researched all the facts of the case because it seems like it's very clearly a horrific, wrong situation that happened. However, I will point out that all of them were relieved of command or relieved of duty. They're facing serious charges, as they should. Even some, I thought I heard that even some firefighters who showed up on scene are facing some charges, I guess, for not rendering aid. So it sounds like, at first blush, that maybe appropriate actions being taken against the perpetrators of what is a horrible crime. I mean, that's the best I can say on that situation. I haven't researched all of it to have a more informed opinion, but that's what I would say. So this is an interesting question. Jeremy Jackson asks, this is kind of rare, but how to protect yourself against a cop that plants drugs? It's really, sorry, like I said, cold. It's still hanging on a little bit, so pardon me. It's really difficult to protect yourself against planted evidence. The best way to do that, I'm trying to think about that. I don't know that you can do anything proactively protect yourself. Perhaps if you had a dash camera that has interior camera, like in your car, or if you had surveillance cameras in your house, obviously, maybe your cameras would be able to catch the person planting the drugs. So maybe that's one way you could protect yourself. Other than that, there's not a lot. It's a difficult situation if police were actually planting drugs. Curious Pondering says, I have a side question that's relevant to the profession. With the advent of AI, how do you see it changing your work and others? Well, Curious Pondering's funny enough. I actually have on my calendar to do a live stream. It will be the 21st. I have to check my calendar. It's February. Let me check my calendar. We're going to do a live stream about AI. Because I'm sure you've heard of ChatGPT. I'm checking my calendar. February 21st at 1 p.m. Mark your calendar. We're going to go live and we're going to talk about ChatGPT. And I'm going to actually try to show you what ChatGPT can do. Do I think it's going to affect my profession? To some degree, maybe. I'm not worried about it, frankly, because I think there will always be a market for intelligent lawyers who can help clients. And I think there'll always be a lawyer for customer service, or a market for customer service. That's what our business is. Our business is all about taking care of people. And I think people always want to be taken care of by people, not just by robots and machines. And we pride ourselves in excellent customer service, taking care of folks. And so I'm not worried, frankly. I'm more worried about self-driving cars as far as my profession individually. Like I focus on traffic and vehicular offenses, and self-driving cars, things like breathalyzers in your steering wheel, those I think are going to frankly weed out the possibility of a DUI down the road. We'll see how that plays out. Hopefully I'll be retired before that happens. John Migda gave us a super chat. Thank you so much, John. It says, my brother took my charger. I felt powerless. I'm sorry, and that's pretty funny. I appreciate the humor. Let's see. This is a really great question. If you're found with drugs in your car, can a drug test showing you were clean be a defense? Unfortunately not, because drugs, the offense for drugs is basically to be in possession of the drugs. That's the offense. That's the problem. It's not saying that you actually used the drugs. Now, if perhaps, maybe you're on probation and the probation requires you to be clean, maybe it would be a defense of some other violation, but for possession of drugs, the offense is possessing them, not using them necessarily. I want to get to our topic for the day because some people may be here for that reason to talk about, why I think live police TV is a problem. And so let's kind of talk about that, and we'll come back and we'll answer some more questions later. I got plenty of time to talk with you guys since I've been away for a long time. Before I do, we got Scott Duke to give us a super chat. What civil rights issues are most cops confused about? Would it help to have printouts of the state's relevant laws and court decisions on hand? The police are confused about a lot of things when their training isn't good. And this is why it is appropriate for us to say that when there's police abuses or police mistakes, that they need better training. That is 100% true. I work with lots of police departments as a defense lawyer, and when police have good training, I see very few abuses of my clients' rights. And so training is one of the keys to good policing that protects us as citizens. I don't think as an ordinary citizen, it's something that you're going to be able to educate an officer about. Say, officer, did you know in Gideon versus Wainwright, I have the right to counsel. It's just not something that's going to help to have a case printed out in your car. As far as what are most cops confused about, I would say DUI law in general. DUI law is very confusing, it's very complicated, and it's hard for officers to keep on track of it. That's one reason why we focus on DUI. One man in Japan is upset that I'm not reading your comments. Well, one man, I apologize. Let me see what you got. So here in Japan, as a foreigner, I'm legally required to show my ID to a police officer if they demand it. On the flip side, I can drink from an open container anytime while outside. Well, it's certainly a different culture, right? So I hope you're doing well in Japan. I don't know if you're there for military or what, but I hope you're doing well. And I'm sorry that I can't catch everybody's comment. The comments go by so fast. It's really, really hard to catch everybody's comments. So let me see if I can unpin that real quick. And let's talk about what I want to talk about for the day. We will come back to comments, I promise. Let me get a sip of water. Okay, so I'm sure you've seen On Patrol Live, right? So this is the reboot of Live PD. Live PD went off the air because of the police riots that we had back in, I don't even know what year that was anymore, 2020, I guess. Live PD went off the air. The hosts basically came up with a new name, same format essentially, and came back with On Patrol Live. So it's the same show, same hosts, different network. So A&E lost out probably on a lot of money. They actually sued, my understanding. I didn't follow that lawsuit. I don't know if it was settled or if they lost, or if A&E lost. But anyway, so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. The reason it's relevant, and I wanted to bring it up today, is live On Patrol Live. If you haven't been watching the past few weeks, I haven't watched it, frankly. I've watched a few clips on YouTube. I'm not a big TV watcher. So On Patrol Live has been filming in Spotsylvania County, Virginia. So if you watch any of the recent episodes or you catch some reruns, basically you'll see Spotsylvania County. That's the county where I'm sitting in right now on Patrol Live. So it's very relevant because it's kind of the talk of the town in a way. A lot of my friends are like, oh, did you see this on Patrol Live? And I didn't, because we don't watch a lot of TV at my house. But I wanted to show you, there is a clip that I thought was interesting. There's not many clips on YouTube. I guess they carefully edit them. They want you to subscribe to Reels and make some money for them. But I do have a clip that I want to show you. And I want to see, let me see if I can get my window capture here to work. Give me 1 second. I'm going to show you there's a police chase. It happened. I think somebody actually mentioned this. Let's see. I don't want to mess up my system here, so I'm just going to display it in a window. Basically, yeah, so On Patrol Live airs on the Reels channel Friday and Saturday night. And the way the format, if you haven't seen it, the format of the show, my understanding, is literally they have camera crews embedded with officers. And in this case, they're right here in Spotsylvania County. So they have camera crews embedded, and those crews are going around. I'm trying to make this a little bit bigger for y'all. The crews are going around, and they're following the officers around and watching where the... And the crews are basically watching, live what's going on. So here's a police chase that took place. We're not going to play the whole thing, but I wanted to show you a feel for what the show is if you haven't seen it. So let's see. So this is somebody obviously recording On Patrol Live using their phone while it's playing on their TV at home. And YouTube hasn't taken it down yet. I'm going to mute my audio so you maybe can hear.
So we're going to try to get them both. I don't know if we're going to or not, but the first one doesn't look like he might know to stop, and he doesn't. I'm in Sheridan now. We're going back towards Salem.
Okay, so what ensues is essentially, excuse me guys, I'm sorry. Here we go. So Frank Treslow says this chase was incredible to watch all over Route 3, Bragg Road, the mall, Central Park. Interested in your take. This is why we're talking about it. This police chase, I didn't time it. It was like 20 minutes. And if you're not familiar with this area, Route 3 is one of our main corridors in Spotsylvania County. It is literally like the lifeblood. It's where most of the traffic is. And it's the main corridor we have here. And what you see on this clip on Patrol Live, let me actually give you the link because we're not going to play the whole thing. But I'll drop the link here in the comments. So if you want to watch it later, you can. Basically, Sergeant Pittman is engaging in a pursuit through very trafficy area, basically running red lights. I mean, I'm not faulting him for trying to catch this guy. However, one of the questions that I have as a citizen, and again, I know these guys, and so I got to kind of be careful what I say here. But one of the questions I have as a citizen is, are there any decisions that police officers are making when they're being filmed live on TV in a show that's kind of showing how wonderful cops are? Are there any decisions that they're making that they wouldn't have made otherwise? That's kind of the question that I have for them. Is the show influencing any of their decisions? And I'm not claiming that it is. I just wonder as a citizen. I do wonder as well about the money exchange. And I'm probably going to be told at court as soon as I air all this on YouTube how the money exchange works. But basically, if you look at this, let me show you a window again. I'm going to try to zoom in. Basically, there's a Q&A. It asks, do producers pay departments to appear on Patrol Live? And it says, no money is paid by the producer to the departments in exchange for their appearance. But if you read on, I'm a lawyer, we read on, it says the producers employ the industry-wide practice of paying a nominal insignia fee. What is a nominal insignia fee? Well, it's a good question, you say. Who knows, right? I found one department where it basically was $1,000 per week that they were on Patrol Live, which does seem pretty nominal for embedding TV crews with, I think in Spotsylvania County, I think I read that it's either 6 or 8 officers. So it's a good handful of officers that have I'm sure probably a cameraman and a producer with them. And so that's probably a nominal fee for their trouble and hassle of dealing with it. But then the flip side, as a taxpayer, I wonder basically how much other time is this taking up, right? If the officers are having to talk to the producers and work with the producers, and I'm guessing they probably get a little bit of training of kind of, how we're going to do this. Maybe they also have to train their ride-alongs how to be safe. How much taxpayer time is it taking up? And, should the police be even doing this? Is there a better use of their time? It's interesting to me, a friend of mine watched On Patrol Live, I think it was this past Saturday night here in Spotsylvania County. He watched the whole 3-hour show live, And he commented to me, they literally did not write a single ticket and literally did not make a single arrest. They pulled plenty of people over. There's plenty of interactions, but basically they gave warnings. And his view was essentially that this is kind of a way to show the police, show what good guys the police are. And like I said, I know many of the officers that I saw during that police chase. They are good guys. But I wonder if this is a good use of our time and money, frankly, to be involved with a show like this. That's kind of my question. So that's kind of my take on these shows. I don't know that they're really that good. They make for some interesting TV. I really think that police chase up and down Route 3 should have been done, frankly. The original issue was basically for reckless driving. A guy was driving recklessly, a young kid, frankly, was driving recklessly, had a very unique license plate, stickers on the car, where maybe they would have been able to, discontinue the pursuit and just find him a little bit later, probably. He would maybe have a good defense of how did he prove he was the driver or not. But frankly, there was a passenger in the car too. So maybe the passenger could have been a Commonwealth witness to prove who the driver was. I think there's just a lot of issues, and it makes me uncomfortable, I guess is the best word I would say. The other thing that bothers me about these shows, and again, I haven't watched much of them, just some clips, but my understanding is, even if the person's pulled over for something minor, now they're on live TV for something minor. I heard there was one lady pulled over for watching TV, probably her phone, while driving down, again, Route 3, a main corridor. And then basically, even if you don't get a ticket, now your face is broadcast all over national TV that you got pulled over for whatever it was. Some people would say, well, don't do anything wrong if you don't want to get pulled over. But on the other hand, we all know that, frankly, police officers make mistakes. And what's the point of giving somebody a warning and cutting them some slack if you've already broadcast their name and face, or maybe not even their name, but their face at least over live TV? Now everybody know you allegedly did that thing wrong, even though you didn't get a ticket for it. It's complicated. It's very complicated. So let's move on to some good questions you guys have. And we have Big Time 911 says, what is the best thing to do if you're drunk and pulled over by the police? Well, the first answer is don't get drunk and drive. I don't mean to make light about this situation. Drunk drivers do kill people, just as distracted drivers do, tired drivers, etc. We all have to be careful when we're driving. Funny story, I was rear-ended, what day is today? Tuesday. I was rear-ended Sunday coming home from church. We were rear-ended. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. I got a little damage to my bumper. The insurance company for the other driver is going to take care of it. But I mean, this stuff is a hassle at the very least if you crash into somebody. To answer your question, if you find yourself on the wrong end of a police investigation and you've had too much to drink, the best answer is, say it with me now, don't talk to the police. That's the best answer. In Virginia, you have the absolute right to not do any of the roadside tests. In most states, in fact, no state that I know of do you have to do the physical tests on the roadside. In most states, you can also refuse the handheld breath test. If you refuse all that, you have a pretty good defense to a DUI. That's kind of where we're at. Somebody said I missed a super chat. I hope I did not. I see Jeep Man has one. What recourse can you pursue for people that call the police on you and lie to them to get you in trouble? It's tough. It's a tough situation. If somebody calls the police and reports something, basically, the police are going to act on it as if it's true unless there's something obviously lying or wrong about it. Then it might be up to you to prove your innocence, and get the judge to see that they're false and providing false evidence at court. A lot of times, if people are mad and angry, they might swear out some kind of complaint in their haste and their anger, but then when they realize they're going to have to come to court and face people in person about it and be cross-examined, people might recant or just not show up to court. So hopefully that idea will help. The other thing is that's one reason it's important to be able to face your accuser, because literally it's easy for some people to lie on paper, to go to the magistrate or the police and write a report saying, so-and-so did XYZ to me. It's easy to write that down or text that or whatever. But when you actually have to come in person to a courtroom and sit there across the table, 10 feet away from somebody and say, they did this, where everybody can see your face, it's a very different scenario. This is why live in-person witness testimony is still extremely important, and I think always will be, even in our computer age. I can't imagine trying to have court over virtual reality or something. It would totally destroy being able to look a witness in the eye, see their face, their facial expressions, their body language, and be able to judge their credibility. All right. Do you think the bar should give CLE credit to lawyers who give them free civil rights training? To the police, that's interesting. Pardon me again. Basically, the bar would. If you give somebody, it would be interesting. I wonder if I could do a class for the police and get CLE credit. I'm not sure. I could give a class to lawyers and get CLE credit, and I do. I teach lawyers all about DUI defense and things like that. But the police is an interesting question. I wonder if we could maybe get CLE credit for that. Maybe if there's a lawyer in the room, you could get CLE credit. So I'll bring my partner, my law partner. He can be the lawyer in the audience. And we'll teach the police, and we'll both get CLE credit. Phil says, we're talking about the police shows. Those shows definitely show what you do not want to do in interacting with law enforcement, like remaining silent and your Fourth Amendment rights. Exactly. I think the police shows don't give you an accurate view of what you should do, right? Now, I think On Patrol Live, from what my buddy was telling me about the show he watched the other night, basically everybody talked and everybody got off with a warning. So maybe that's trying to encourage people, oh, you should talk and you'll get off with a warning. But it just doesn't happen all the time. Oh, I did miss a super chat. I think I missed a good joke is what happened. People are shocked to find out I'm not a good electrician. I like that. I'm actually a pretty good electrician. It's funny enough. I've come to really like, especially low voltage electricity, getting into like solar and things like that. It's quite enjoyable and low danger. Do you think your average YouTube viewer would survive prison? I think I'd do all right. I don't think I'd survive prison. Well, I guess I'd survive, but it wouldn't be very fun. Jail is nothing like prison. Jail is, I had one client actually tell me he was looking forward to going to jail for 10 days because he hadn't had a vacation in like 5 years. He's like, man, it's going to be a vacation. That's one perspective, I suppose. Gideon Curtis asks an interesting question. If everyone obeyed all traffic laws, wouldn't the only reasonable course of action for police would be increased laws, restrictions, etc.? So basically, do the police have an interest in finding issues and trying to dig up violations to keep their job? In a way, I suppose so. I think in our overly regulated world, we will see just increased restrictions and rules and laws and whatnot. So unfortunately, I think there'll always be a role for the police. I think we had another. All right, guys, I appreciate the jokes. I really do appreciate the super chats. I honestly don't know what BAR stands for. I don't know. Maybe I missed a bad joke there or a dirty joke. Hopefully not. Let's keep it clean. I do appreciate dad jokes. Always appreciate dad jokes. This is a great question. In light of, I would suggest, the Tennessee situation, if you see a cop or cops engaging in police brutality and possibly threatening a life, is there anything you can legally do to stop them? Probably not. I've said in many videos, you never want to try to fight the police. The police have guns, badges, batons, mace, tasers, all sorts of weapons on their belt, and they travel in packs. And you never want to try to physically fight the police. I suppose if a life was in danger and you literally thought they were, trying to, obviously beating somebody silly, maybe if you had enough friends with you to try to stop them, maybe that would be a heroic effort, but I'm afraid you would end up beaten to death too, right? So the best thing might be to document it, maybe scream out to them to stop, try to appeal to them, but I don't know that physically trying to stop them is going to result in anything good for you. But obviously, no greater love hath a man than to lay down his life for a friend. So, kudos to somebody who tried to do that, I suppose, if that's really what was happening. Let's see. You recommend dash cams. Example, I have an accident and my dash cam would prove I am at fault. Can I hide, destroy the video? Very tricky question. Very tricky question. Funny enough, I have a dash cam in my car, and after our rear end collision on Sunday, there was no dispute about fault or what happened. However, we got home, we said, hey, let's check the footage and see what the dash cam shows. My camera wasn't working. It wasn't recording. The day I actually had a wreck, I definitely did not have any video of it. There's a doctrine called spoliation of evidence. And so if you know that there's possible civil claims coming at you, as in you just crashed into somebody and hurt them or wrecked their car, you could potentially be in trouble if it was found out that you destroyed your dash cam video. However, how do they find out? I'm not telling anybody you should do anything illegal, but I got home and my dash cam literally had no files on the card. So how would somebody know if I deleted it or if it just wasn't working properly? Having a dash cam on a way helps try to make me a better driver, because I try to think about sometimes like, hey, would this video help me or hurt me? So anyway, that's kind of my 2 cents there. John Migda is full of the dad jokes. When I drink alcohol, I'm an alcoholic. When I drink Fanta, they don't call me fantastic. Does anybody drink Fanta anymore? That's interesting. Let's see. Yeah, the origin for the term bar refers to the physical layout of a courtroom. So yes, basically, in a courtroom, you have the gallery where all the benches or pews, if you will, are, where people sit. You have the bar. There's literally a bar across most courtrooms, some kind of rail a lot of times with, even a gate sometimes. And then ahead of that, in front of the bench, you have the well. Sometimes it's actually depressed. Fauquier, here in Fauquier County, Virginia, they have a really cool historic courtroom where it's kind of stadium seating, and you literally go down into a very low, depressed, well of an area where the lawyers stand and do their work and where the tables are. And of course, the judge sits on a bench that's really high. So it's really kind of an interesting dynamic, just the way that courtroom's built. Guys, that is about what we got. I'm trying to see if we missed any really good questions. This is a great question. How come the mother of the 6-year-old that shot the teacher haven't been charged when it's clearly she was negligent? Well, my answer would be maybe it's not so clear. A lot of times what we see in the media isn't necessarily what's going on for real. I know that may be a shock to some people, and I'm not accusing anybody of that in here, but you just never know. I haven't followed this story closely, so I can't really comment on what the evidence is, at least, but maybe there's more than we know. Or maybe the prosecutor's office is trying to determine what the appropriate charge is. So maybe they're kind of going back and forth and trying to determine, what kind of charge to bring. Is it criminal negligence? Is it involuntary manslaughter? Is it just some kind of reckless handling of a firearm? There's any number of charges that might apply. Like I said, I don't know much about the facts of that particular case, but that's kind of the situation. All right, let's see. What else do we have? Since all gun laws and regulations are infringed on the Second Amendment, does that mean I can disobey them, or should I be afraid of the Zogbot cops? I would not encourage you to disobey gun laws and regulations. There's probably no quicker way to go to prison in this day and age than if you disobey gun laws and regulations. One of the things that drives me the most crazy is in Virginia, at least, we have all these people charged and convicted of making false statements on firearm applications. So the firearm application asks you all this stuff, not just your name, date of birth, so your driver's license number, etc., just your identity. It asks you all this stuff. Have you ever had a domestic violence conviction? Have you ever been convicted of a felony? All this stuff about your past. And you have to answer all these questions. Well, then they don't just take your word for it and say, okay, you get a gun or you don't get a gun. They then run you through the computer system to see, do your answers to your record information, does that match what we see on file? And if it doesn't match what we see on file, a lot of times you get charged with a felony for simply checking the wrong box on a stupid form. And it's not the box about your name, date of birth. It's not that you're trying to hide your identity and try to, me trying to buy a gun in my brother's name or something. Now that's different, I would argue, for sure. But if it's simply that you checked the wrong box about whether or not you had a domestic violence conviction, I don't think that should ever be a felony. Frank, I don't think there should be a box. All that form should consist of is your name, your date of birth, your social, whatever they need to identify you, and then they're going to run your record anyway, and they'll determine if you qualify for a gun or not. Because we're just setting people up for failure. Rant over, but don't disobey firearms rules. Maybe fight to change the firearms rules with your local legislatures or whoever can do that. All right. Tom Drum asked, do you ever wear a regular tie? I do indeed, Tom Drum. What's funny is I actually get more comments now when I wear a regular straight tie with a standard like full Windsor knot than when I wear a bow tie or some kind of crazy long tie knot. Long ago I started tying my ties with different knots like a Trinity knot or an Eldridge and different stuff like that. And I got some bow ties, and so I just enjoy wearing different stuff. But when I do something typical, I get comments like, man, that's a boring knot today. So anyway, I do wear long ties at court, but I try not to on YouTube. It's my thing, right? You got to have a thing. I think I missed a super chat. Just $5. Thank you so much. We appreciate the support. And also, if you check out the description of this video, there should be a link where you can support me. You can buy me a coffee or buy me a beer. I can't remember what we said. I think it's buy me a beer. We do appreciate it. What will you die for? Self-defense is the only issue. I would die for Jesus Christ. It's the best answer I got. I'd die for my wife. I wouldn't die for my gun. I'm sorry. That's just, it's a thing. It's an important thing, but there are people and God are more important than that. So there you have it. This is a great question. What is the oldest person you've seen make it through law school, retired now, and looking for something fun to do? Law school is not fun to do. I would not do it just because you're looking for something that's interesting. There's got to be some better hobby that interests you, some better way to spend your money. Funny enough, I actually have a local friend. I wouldn't call him old. If he's watching this, he'd probably beat me up for calling him old. He's not old by any means, but it's definitely a second career to go to law school, and now he's a lawyer. He was a law enforcement for a long time. He was a Marine before that, and now he's running a second career as a lawyer. We have a public defender who actually used to be an FBI agent, and he's a little older than my buddy I'm talking about. So I've seen plenty of people go to law school later in life. It's certainly a thing, but I wouldn't do it just for fun when you're retired. Definitely not. I'd love to die a martyr too. Super cool. I hope that I don't have to, but who knows? Someday I hope to have the courage. Somebody says, consider a paralegal degree. You know, you don't really have to get a degree to be a paralegal. I know many offices where none of their paralegals actually have a paralegal degree or certificate. I just have to be good with people, good with details. Obviously, office skills and office, computing, things like that. So if you're not familiar with, literally Word and Excel and computers, that would be a really good program to get into if you're interested in being any kind of paralegal. If you could slice and dice a computer and run a computer and like PDFs and all that, just quickly and easily and efficiently, and good with customer service, you could probably be a really good paralegal anywhere you went, frankly. All right. This is a great question. Biffstack asks, can you do a reacting to courtroom scenes in movies, TV shows sometime? Sounds like a plan, man. I'm good. If you want to send us a tip, we have a speak pipe on the. Actually, it might not be in the description. If you check one of our videos, we got a speak pipe. If you have some specific episodes or movies that you're interested in, drop a speak pipe message to me, and we'll try to get a video done. We appreciate it. A panic attack can get you off jury duty. I hope you don't have them. That's not fun, but it probably could. Jury duty is our duty, though, and it actually is kind of interesting. So try not to just get out of it. All right, we're going to end with one more joke. All right, we're going to skip the joke. I didn't know that crazy knots for long ties were a thing. I'm going to have to research that. You should do a tutorial video. Maybe I should. Yeah, check out different ways to tie your tie. There's lots and lots of different ways to tie your tie. React to Better Call Saul court scenes. That would be fun too. We might do that. Guys, I got to run because I got a client meeting coming up. We definitely appreciate everybody being here. Stay tuned for a new video every other Tuesday. We won't have one this next week, but we will have one the Tuesday after that. Tell your friends to subscribe. We really appreciate everybody. Please share this video on Facebook or YouTube, and please help support the channel. We really appreciate you, and we're going to try to have a new video every other Tuesday. Remember,